Hi, my name is Hydraform, but you can call me Construction Babe. Welcome back to yet another epic and exciting episode of Construction Perspective. By the way, compliments of the new year. 2026 is going to be great, believe me. And you know I'm saying this because today we're in Boksburg, visiting the Hydraform headquarters, an organization that's been there for the past 37 years, doing the most across the continent and globally. We'll be having a sit down with the chairperson, Mr. Chris Jiyane, who is an influential voice, a stalwart in the built environment, has contributed immensely to the transformation agenda. He'll take us through his personal journey as a stalwart, but also as a chairman of Hydraform. He'll tell us stories about the organization and how it has come to be what it is today. We'll also be joined by Nati, who will take us through the Hydraform interlocking bricks, where in certain parts of Africa they're known as adobe bricks. We'll have a walk around the headquarters. They'll also show us how the machine works, and there's so much to learn. I'm also excited. I can't wait to see what they've got in store for us. So come, join us. We are in Boksburg at the Hydraform headquarters. Today, as I've said, we'll be joined by one of the built environment stalwarts, a pioneer of so many things within the industry, but most importantly, he's been in the forefront of transformation holistically. And I just want us to start from the beginning and, tell us how you've contributed in the industry, your journey for you to arrive and be recognized as a stalwart, specifically within the built environment, but looking at Black business generally.
Okay. One small good day as well, and I would like to welcome you to this institution. As you can see around, the work and the quality of the building is very intact, and we pride ourselves on this dry stack type of building. But before that, I'll get to that later. I was born in Soweto, and I'll just really try and squeeze in 20 years of my being in Soweto into maybe a few minutes. And I went to school, Morris Isaacson. You know that Morris Isaacson is a very popular school during the 76 riots. We as the youth of the time wanted change. And I think the system then tried to force Africans into us. And when I finished the trick, and then you must remember that at the time, it was very difficult to go into a university or even a technical school or something like that. So you had to get the permission from the local priest or someone give you a letter to take. One thing I forgot to say in this whole thing, I was arrested in 77, beginning of 70s, when I said I maybe lost 2 years. And I was jailed at number 4, which was called the Fort Prison in Hydraform. As a student, at 76, and theatre machine in its whole quartet, and I must have spent something like 8 months there. But it's good that we're talking about transformation. You will enjoy the fact that I spent 8 months. But one good thing that I want to hurry up, to tell you is that I went back there now as a professional, as a person who ran rainbow construction, to go and build the constitution. That's the most exciting thing that I wouldn't want you to finish the story. I went back there to go and build that constitutional court. And in other words, use some of the bricks of the cert into building the constitutional court. So when you look at the constitutional court, the front of where all the judges are sitting, all those bricks, you see they're old bricks. They were bricks that were the cells where we were, where some of the political prisoners and maybe the hardened, criminals were. After qualifying, I started at construction CJP. You should start where everybody starts, so that you open your eyes, you see how things are done, you see how architects read. And I think that it goes back to youth. Youth should do that. They should respect those that are there. I worked with the likes of Mike Wiley, WBHOs at the time, and he would never, forgo that opportunity. Anytime they're given that opportunity, grab it with both. Then fast track to those boards, I joined FEM, and or before I joined FEM, I went to IODSA, Institute of Directors, and I joined that, and I think there I started getting, to know what should be happening boards. I was lucky that I was recruited, and I think interviewed to go into the board of men. And there I was in the midst of actuaries. Now those guys are serious guys, and it's like professors in business. And again, there I could learn as to how do they address things, how do they run meetings. Meetings were starting at 7 o'clock, and none of them were late. I'm an avid golfer. I love golf, but time. Golf is a time-based sport. Golf is a business-based sport. But you have to know how to do business. Again, you can't walk onto a golf course and expect that you're going to do business. You'll play golf for 20 years and still track one project or business. I was lucky because, for the first time I had involved when I was playing with some white guys and so on, as the CEO of Rainbow Construction. And they said to me, look, let's go and play golf. So we went and played golf. When we were done, and then they said, okay, let's move to a restaurant. Instead of the 19th hole, let's move to a restaurant. The restaurant we go to play. And they said, so can you build a casino? And I thought to myself, my eyes went like, what are they talking about? What do they build? And I remember the architect by the name of Ricci, Clive Ricci, put the document in front of me. For the first time I heard it. For the first time. It says, this letter of intent appointing you, it's all written. It's got my name on. I looked at this thing and it had my name and it had company. These guys want me to do a 600 million project. And they said to me, I couldn't do that at the time. I couldn't do a 600 million project. But what I did was I had this agreement with WBH to say, look, whenever I get a project, because we're already doing some tables together as Rainbow Construction. So they made it clear that they don't want WBH to be the main, but they want me as a smaller contractor to be the main transformation. Yeah. Now, these are the people speaking to me, they speak in my language. They want me to, I said, can I do that? They said, you are bringing this, so you can't be at the bottom. So I took this to my fellow WBHO board members and so on, and some Rainbow board members were sitting and said, Mike, wait, here it is, and I've got this letter of intent. I noticed something that Mike Wiley took this document, looked at it as if, looked at it at the back as if for authenticity. He didn't believe it. He didn't think it could happen. And he started saying, how do you know this? How do they know you? And he kept on repeating the same question. And for me, It was a simple thing, and I can speak very openly here. We could never think that a black person, you know, like me, could actually bring a network to 10. 600 million was sitting on the table, which I couldn't do. So I was going to rely on them to bring in the equipment, to bring in some of the directors and so on. But for me, it was an opportunity to build and put into place a system where I bring in young people and I brought. And again, we came into the thing of training. Because like I said, we have to know how people treat, have to know how they speak in meetings and so on. Training came up. It was a term that what it means is that if you're a quantity surveyor, junior quantity surveyor, senior, an experienced quantity surveyor. If there's a site agent, then the junior site agent teams up with it. So we devised that, came up with that. And a lot of these young people then the skill of proper skilling of people. And they then moved into position slowly. Today, I can say very, very proud. They run their own companies. Others are actually now giving me work. They're coming back to me and say, we want to employ you as a contractor. They are project managers. They are, I can name them, Bongas, Itibane was there. I mean, he's a big name in project management now. Very big, and he's negotiating with me a project which I cannot disclose now, but it's a big project. But what a turnaround! That is what transformation does for you, or it should be doing. Not as I saw one of the questions you had, or what the principals you asked me, would say that how does it compare to what is on paper as a policy? I would say that policies are actually, they actually get jackled around and moved around to suit, the person who doesn't want transformation. But this one is, I say, it's from the school of hard knocks. You do it yourself, and it has to be done. You can't expect people who had the opportunity to do as they and who actually benefited from the system of apartheid and all that, to actually now start empowering. We had to move forward and have that mentality of moving forward to devise our own way of where do you want to be, how do you want to be. So that system of bringing in did assist. And I was invited by your friend and the president of Cyprus to come and give a talk there about, as a stalwart again, to say, what are the experiences that I've had on site, or what do I think should be done to get persons? So, in the panel where I was going to be talking, there were about 5 of us there, and it was all ladies. In this panel, then there were 4 of us, 5 of us. I was the 5th. So there was this young lady who's now working for AXA. She looks after the properties, AXA, the airports company in South Africa. And she came to me before we could actually be pinned easily, go on stage and said, Mr. Jiyane. I said, yeah. And then she said, we're both in the panel. Do you remember me? And I said, tell me. And she said, you hired me at Rainbow when I knew nothing. And so you took me on as an apprentice or whatever, so on a Rainbow construction. And I'm just wanting to say thanks very much. I nearly fell, and tears were already there, because again, speaking transformation. So, long story short, that is me telling you what transformation should be like. people should come back to you and then not say, I don't want to see that man. I don't want to see that woman. Because when I worked for them, they fired me, or they treated me badly, or there was abuse of sorts or something like that. So what does that mean? It means that I'm not scared to go into a building such as this and say I built here because the building is sound. I'm not scared to meet people that I've worked with and say this one worked for me because I see them in different positions higher up there, and they're all sort of saying things like, "You gave us the opportunity." So basically, that's I think in a nutshell. It's a whole lot of things that I've had. Some of the things I do, projects that I've done, Sibaya Casino in Durban, ICC in Durban, the train station was the first project in Johannesburg to transform that station. And some of the stations in Soweto, going back there and building the Ferry Station, the Radio Station, the Station, all my projects that I participated as an employee. Yeah, and there's quite a lot in Joburg. Drumhood Band, Smith. So come back to this company which I now have a passion for. I tried to buy a Hydraform as a company that I saw at the time.
Mukambe style, Mukambe.
Okay.
I have this. You've got so many full circles, right? From staying at number 4 to building the Constitutional Hill, from empowering younger people who then now want to work with you in projects. You've essentially
to employ my company to do the projects.
To employ your company to actually say, when I look up to you to see how you work, to go back and say, I got a project worth 600 million, let's work together on it. That for me is more than just inspirational. It speaks to the epitome of Black excellence. And another important thing that you also mentioned, it is that as a Black professional and as a Black businessman, you can enter rooms where you've built with no shame or embarrassment to say that I felt that. You don't sleep with the conscience of saying the work I've done does not speak to excellence. It speaks to you saying you've always been open to learning. You've always wanted to contribute to communities and societies that you find yourself in. And when you get opportunities, you run with them. But then you also then go back and speak about how small things such as timekeeping, being early for meetings, being on time, if you want to participate on boards, what is it that you're meant to look out for? And I think that's also one of my passions. And I normally tell members in other organizations that I serve in that go into committees and see how people run meetings, how minutes are written. If you also want to learn deeply, volunteer to then write those minutes so that you can be properly corrected, And it's quite important that there's continuous learning, conventionally so, and also not in the most conventional ways. And I think you've put that superbly well. I'm so far inspired. And to say that maybe we really need to start writing stories of Black people, of Black men and Black women who've done superbly well for the development of South Africa, especially its infrastructure. You've done absolutely well, and I'm sorry that your story had to be cut so short. I bet there's so much that you wanted to share with us, and I actually want to continue hearing this, and maybe one day, as Construction Perspective, we can take out a book of different professionals, especially Black ones, where they tell stories about the excellence they've done for South Africa or even the continent in its entirety.